Welcome back to another Reddit Reads with B. On today's episode, our first story is from Easy Breezy, and it's titled, We've been kittynapping our neighbor's cat for 3 years. This should be something. So, it starts off with, I think it's first important to note that the area I live in has a lot of outside cats, mostly stray and cars speeding down the road right in front of us, my mom and I's house, all the time. Lots of traffic, and people out here don't care about cars and animals. I'll leave it at that. It first started 3 years ago. My stepbrother, who lived with us at the time, had found a mommy cat and her three newborn babies under the deck. Jeez. We had been seen here. We had seen her here and there a month or so before, and she had a raggedy collar that clearly showed she had lived outside for at least a couple months. She was very skinny, but very friendly to people, and so we knew she had been someone's cat, at least at some point. We had dogs at the time, so we bought a large cage with multiple levels, bougie outside kennel basically. And after 2 months, when the kennel was getting cramped, made room in that office and housed them there. We got them all their shots and had the mother spayed and had all three kittens, all boys, neutered when they were 6 months old. I mean, I know a lot of people do it like within the first few weeks of life, but you know, at least my cat was. We put them all onto a credible adoption site and managed to get one of them adopted. We unfortunately, but fortunately, still have the mom and two other boys. Always asking friends and family if they want cats. He, well, just one of them. I thought I said two of them. Maybe a year or so later, my mom started seeing a little kitten running up to her. No owner in sight, while she was taking the dogs out to pee. We waited about a month, noticing he was always outside and always hungry or thirsty. In parentheses, it says, we know cats lie about not being fed, but he looked as skinny as the mommy cat, but not a good weight for a kitten. Oh, underfed little guy. Before taking him into our home, thankfully, we convinced my granddad to adopt him. He has since somehow taught the cat to, in quotations, box, and it is one of the most adorable things to watch. My aunt had an American bulldog, or a boxer, another different, that would do the same thing. They'd lean her up on the back of the couch, and she'd actually like box back and forth with you. Super cute. Maybe 3 to 6 months later, we started seeing a kitten with a flea collar on. We kept an eye on him, fed him, but weren't going to take him in since he had a flea collar on, thus an owner who seemed to care about him. Maybe a month later, after a neighbor we knew was feeding stray cats moved, we noticed he didn't have his flea collar on anymore. After a week went by, the collar was not replaced. We took him in and got in touch with a neighbor who swore she hadn't been taking care of a cat with his description. It was at this point we were relatively certain all these cats we had rescued had been one of our neighbors. But while we had suspicions, we didn't know for sure. I mean, all the cats were people friendly, so they had to have had some human interaction. None of them had been spayed or neutered when we took them in, and all of them had various levels of skinniness. For this particular cat, let's call him Julius. When he turned 6 months old, I talked to the vet about getting him neutered, noting that we were pretty sure he had an owner before us. But he wasn't very well taken care of, and we had never picked up a fixed cat from the street in front of our house. I'd go into a rant about how the hick country vets out here where I live wanted to do an ultrasound to see if he had been neutered, but I'll save the 0-star review novel I plan to write on their page and just say that when we took him there to a very trusted and respected vet we had been going to in the city before we moved to BMF nowhere. Or, yeah. It took them 2 minutes to physically check him and then bust out the microchip reader and scan him. Bam, microchip number and the 99% certainty he had been neutered. I went home and attempted to register the number, only to be told the number was already registered. Nice. So you know who the owner is. I did hesitate here. We had found him outside 2 to 3 months, alone, hawks and snakes known to be around in this area, speeding cars up and down the roads at ridiculous speed. I know I sound like an old grumpy white man right now, but these rednecks are actually so inconsiderate of wildlife in the area, and I'm traumatized by a possum I thought I had saved that had just been playing dead. When I moved him in front of the middle of the road under a nice tree, but saw him still there the next morning, so just, okay. So he was or wasn't dead? Oh, you thought he was playing dead, but he was actually just dead. Gotcha. That sucks. And no one had come to us to ask about a missing kitten. We hadn't heard anything about from the neighbor social groups or announcement boards, and I fell in love with him. Even though he's the biggest asshole I've ever met, apparently gray cats can be like that. He's our first gray cat. My buddy had a Russian blue, and he could be a little bit spicy at times. I know they're kind of blue-grayish and probably not the exact same thing, but still, he could be a bit of an asshole. Called him Pimp Daddy, that was his name. So I threw the number away, kissed my cat, and continued on with life. Finally, this January, my mom and I had bought a heated cat house online and put it out for strays so they could stay warm during the one freeze expected for this winter. That's pretty nice of you. By this time, we had seen another cat outside for about 3 to 4 months. We called him Lysander, 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 regardless. He wasn't noticeably skinny, but he had noticed he hung around one house in particular, something we really hadn't seen consistently from the other cats who all came from a public, extremely small grassy strip across the street. We had also noticed another cat who looked very much like him, but smaller, who would hang around him a lot. They would always come running around immediately when they heard food being poured into a bowl, and I'm pretty sure they were the main users of the cat house we had bought. This smaller cat was fairly new, though. Lysander was probably around in September, but the smaller cat we had just started seeing at the beginning of the year. My mom had seen multiple times over the next month or so that when the people across the street came home, the smaller cat would go running up to them, follow them to their house, and then come running back after, obviously having been shut out of the house. Oh, they take him, leave him, like play with him as their kitties, and then shut him out of the house? That's so messed up. At least that's what I'm getting from this. So now we were certain they were the owners and felt like we could safely assume it was their cats we had been kittynapping all along. We vowed we could not take this cat in, even though she was skinny and dirty, since we put together a timeline and realized they were probably getting new kittens right after we took in one they had, and that this cycle had been repeating, not wanting any more kittens, and knowing our house was getting way too full of precious animals. We tried our best to ignore it. We had also been planning to move this year, this year after some things had happened, had no more ties to this godforsaken county, and desperate to move back to the city. Mid-February, I noticed the small cat looked pregnant. She was skinny enough that I could clearly see her middle was wider than her hips. In hopeful denial, my mom reasoned out that she could be a small cat and that we still could not take her in. I put out food for her and kept my eye out. We didn't really see her again until late April or the first days of May. When I was taking one of the dogs out to the grass, noticing my dog was looking over in the house's direction, and bam, there she was, at least 4 kittens. I took a picture and texted my mom, who was on a trip, who texted back, "We have no room." For the next week, we kept an eye out there for them, but neither of us had spotted any of them since we truly hoped they were keeping the kittens who had hair, but were definitely very, very small, probably a month old, when I first saw them inside. Our hopes were dashed on Mother's Day evening. A big storm was coming, and while taking the dogs out for their last pee-pee of the night, my mom saw a kitten. The storm was due within the hour, so cursing the neighbors under her breath, my mom put the dog back inside and went out to the kitten. We searched for 30 to 45 minutes for the other kittens, but couldn't hear them or see them. I knew all of them had some white fur, so they should have been relatively easy to see in the dark with the flashlight. The mommy cat was outside too. Just by looking at her, you could tell she was skin and bones. We put the baby in a large cat carrier in the garage, put a clean dry towel in front of the kennel with a bowl of food for mommy, and left the garage door open just enough so she could easily get in and out. The next morning, she was still lying right in front of the kennel, food gone. The baby was probably a month and a half as he was walking around, but was definitely wobbly on his feet, and his coordination was anything but cat-like. It took us half a day to go back on our promise, and we brought them into the house and into their own room. For the first day, we considered getting the mom spayed and then realizing her back to the street and her, in quotations, owner, but were just so appalled by their complete disregard for whenever she greeted them from coming home, and how skinny she was. When I took her to the vet, they agreed she was probably too skinny to have kept nursing, because the baby was right at the start of being weaned off of her. More than one kitten. To have kept nursing more than one kitten, okay. So she can only choose one. That sucks. They assured me that... Oh, lost my place. They assured me that the kittens were old enough at the time to be safely separated from the mom and survive. Though not recommended, but I agreed that as I had seen a car for the first day I saw kittens pull up, and seemed to talk to the neighbors about the kittens. The fact we never saw or heard any of the other babies, even to this day, that they were likely given away to other people. Anyway, my mom and I eventually decided after one of my grandfather's friends conveniently talked about him wanting a cat, that we would keep the mommy and adopt her to the nice lady. As for the baby, we were effed up the moment we picked him up. He's been integrated with our permanent cats and has become an instant best friend with my 9-year-old Mancoon Ragdoll Mutt. We still see Lysander roaming outside every now and then, and he now has a flea collar on him. He seems to be doing okay. And we're finally getting around to the house on the market, so this mommy and baby are officially the lady cats we will kittynap. Sorry this was long, but it was 8 cats in 3 years. Holy crap, 8 cats in 3 years. They're all living happily, and the first mama, her last 2 babies who are a bonded pair now, and Julius, all have the shiniest and silkiest coats ever. Live up life with their $300 cat tower. They've been ripping the stuff out of it and have taken the newest mommy cat in very well while she and the other mommy cats we first got 3 years ago. Wait for the nice lady to finish arrangements and take them into her home. I don't feel bad. All 8 are being well fed and cared for now, all living a life of AC in the southern heat, and only worrying about how it's been 6 hours since they've last eaten and are, according to them, of course, as hungry as they were when they got rescued/kidnapped. Say what you want, my mom and I know we've made lives far more comfortable than they would have had if we left them. TLDR, my mom and I rescued 6 cats. We didn't know they were my neighbors, and that they hadn't been getting fed well, and finally put the pieces together after seeing them actively ignoring the mom and kitten that were definitely theirs and rescuing them, making 8 rescued cats over 3 years. Whoa. In all honesty, I mean, I don't think you're necessarily wrong, especially because at first you thought they were just, abandoned cats. And I would think that too. Now, personally, I don't think I could ever own 8 cats, let alone 8 cats over the span of 3 years. My wife and I are definitely a single cat household, but maybe like a second cat. But I don't know. Couldn't understand having more than maybe 2 cats, depending on how big your space is. Outside of that, I think that the people across the street, if they really are just taking them in, raising them till they have cats or till they become inconvenient, just like a previous story I've talked about that was kind of acting the same way, of a guy who really wanted a cat for a long time and then after a while just started treating it like he hated it and didn't want it anymore. But I think it's a really shitty thing to do, and I definitely think that there's some sort of repercussions should be done to them, but unfortunately, you can't really do anything about it unless they were had active proof they were, abusing them, but that'd be almost impossible, I'm sure. But in reality, I think you and your mom are definitely good souls, and, don't want to see anything, whether it's a little cat or I'm sure a person on the side of the road starving. And so it's definitely super respectable. And it's better than, watching a cat slowly starve to death, essentially. I mean, by the way you're describing some of them. I think that, it seems like you gave them a very, very good life, way better than they were actively living or potentially ever going to live. So I agree with you in the fact that you shouldn't feel bad about it. But I also think that, if you had the time or the want to, you should definitely, I don't know if I'd say snitch, but maybe snitch on those people that are abusing animals. I mean, they're wrong, and whatever their, reasoning is, I don't agree with it, especially 8 cats over the span of 3 years is absolutely absurd. Anyway, let's hop on to these comments. Alrighty, first one is from Moonray number 9, or just Moonray 9. Morally, I think the strongest line in your favor is that every cat you took in was underfed, intact, or unprotected, and left in a road-heavy area with no visible search effort from the owners. The microchip part is the only place where it legally gets messy, because tossing the number could look bad even if your motive was protecting Julius. If this happens again before you move, I would at least scan, save the info, and route it through a rescue or animal control so there's a paper trail and the cat still does not end up dumped back outside. Absolutely. Oh, I forgot about that. I think that, there's obviously got to be some way for you to report that you found this chip number and then the people be contacted. Now, whether or not they take the cat back, I suppose, is up to them, or they could lie and be like, oh, we were looking for them. But I still think that, I mean, they clearly weren't looking for them, so I don't think that you're going to have any repercussions, at least legally, from that. And someone else said, kind of the same thinking as me, Camo2777. Any grounds for reporting the neighbors for neglect? Might be worth taking action to stop the cycle, because at this point I can only see them getting a new cat and running the exact same pattern. Yeah, exactly. They're going to get the cat, and once the cat becomes inconvenient or too expensive, or they just don't want the older cat anymore, they only want the cute kid, cuddly little baby, and then, they clearly let him go in and out, and they're out there banging in the streets on other cats. So in reality, I think that it is going to be a never-ending cycle unless someone does something about it. And finally, Candid Murr said, "You did not kidnap anything. You were in a secret rescue operation. If your neighbors are treating living animals like disposable porch decor, they do not deserve to have pets in the first place. Keep giving those cats the upgrade they deserve, and do not feel guilty about it for a single second. 100%. All right, second story comes from J_writes_stuff. Okay, J writes stuff. I think I ruined my life while everyone else was having the time of their lives. Ooh. So he's 23, and it's not about in a relationship. So, good thing to know. I have no idea why I'm writing this. Also, I apologize in advance because I have major ADHD, and you're definitely going to feel that in the writing. I've been in love with someone for nearly 7 years. Wow, that's a long time. I think somewhere between meeting her and now, my sense of time just disappeared. And I know no other way of describing that to another person. And she left 4 years ago. Wow. I've now remembered her longer than I've known her, and that destroys me every day. Since she left, I've become this thing, obsessed with anything and everything that could make me feel something. Now, I'm not saying I feel nothing. For a man, I cry way too much, mostly out of anger, but still. I've done drugs. Obviously, though, I do is smoke my dabs now, which I always have. When I say I chased things to make me feel, I meant I did anything that could give me adrenaline, anything that might make me cry, even things that were indirectly even things that indirectly harm myself. And I even like to hurt others mentally. I was hurt, so hurt. I got into fights. I knew I wouldn't win, just trying to cause as much hurt to whomever I was hitting. I screwed people over I knew would forgive me at least once just to do something worse next. And before you ask, no, it doesn't make any sense, but it did to me. I needed to feel things. I was afraid that if I couldn't in some way feel my heart beating in my chest, that it wasn't there. Yes, that's a metaphor, but no. I don't know how else to say it. I didn't feel real, and a lot of the time I still don't feel quite real. The thing is, though, this is that I was a sweet person at one point. I would do anything to help someone out. Truly. What I'm trying to say is, I'm a good person who purposefully did horrible things to good people, the best people. I'm a monster. Now, when I tell you that I'm trying to get better, or to be better, I'm lying, because I don't think I deserve to be better, to become a good person again. So my feeling of unworthiness is literally stopping me from becoming deserving, because I'm not dumb, and neither are the rest of you. Neither are the rest of you. People do change, and I want to, but every time I do some good, I feel like I dive deeper into my unworthiness. I guess there wasn't really a point of posting this, but here it is. In all honesty, I think that you feel like you've gone so far and that you have no ability to change because you are at this point of no return, which I do disagree with, because I think the only time that you're at a point of no return is when you're dead. No, I definitely don't want you to die or feel unworthy for the rest of your life. I think the first stuff is going to be, or the first step rather, is going to be understanding and also coming to terms with yourself. Like, I've done bad things, and even though I've done bad things, I can change and, be a good person at the end of the day. Or more so, like, as life goes on, you can still change and become a good person again, as you stated. Or that you were a good person before. You could become that person again. It's not the only person stopping you from doing that is you. And of course you're going to feel unworthy of that, and like that you're at the point of no return until you start doing that and you start seeing a return and you start seeing that, you're becoming the person you want to see. Because in all honesty, it's not like you having the wrong done to you is gonna change you as a person. Now, it might teach you a lesson and show you some, in a similar sense, how the other people felt when you had done that to them, whatever it may have been. But I think that at the end of the day, making your, going back and repenting, not like in a religious way, but going back and almost like that show with Earl, where he went around with a list and righted his wrongs essentially, and was like, you know what, I want to be a better person. And so I think the first thing is being honest, though. If you did wrong to people, maybe going to those people and trying to right those wrongs, or at least admitting to them, I was wrong and I know that I was wrong for doing this, blah blah blah. I would like to make it right. And obviously they may be skeptical, and if they're skeptical about it, that's also a part of it, is like letting them be skeptical and not believing you in a sense, because you had done them wrong, as you said, more than once to most of the people, and you did them wrong knowing that they would let you back. So I think that obviously going through the motions and trying to be a better person over a while is going to show you that like you are deserving of being a good person, and that you should change. Maybe you're going to wish that you had done it sooner, I think that if you don't change now, then not maybe, but it will definitely be much harder later on. Redditor 6 in the morning said, I hope you have someone who knows you well to confide in about all this, to help dissect it all. I do have a couple people that I trust. I think I just need to actually let them in. That was some random person. But it seems everyone I tell agrees with me and no longer treats me the same, understandably. I mean, yeah, people probably see you in a different light. They probably think you're not a good person because you admit to being a bad person intentionally. And I really don't think this is about the girl. I think this is obviously at some point maybe about the girl, but later on you almost lost yourself in a sense. Next Redditor said, lost my marbles 1177. Losing her didn't make you a monster. You can change, and maybe the next person you love will stay. All of this is a cop-out. Change is scary. If you don't believe that you deserve to be better, then do it for all the people that you are hurting. It's a great way to put it. If not for you, then, to somehow justify or make better than on the people that you have already done wrong. Talk to a therapist. Absolutely talk to a therapist. Talk to a therapist about your inherent feelings of emptiness. Empty is the absolute worst emotional state, and I get what you are saying about just trying to feel. I've been there for my entire life and struggle with that every day. I've learned that no relationship is ever going to work if that person is your entire reason to exist or only way to feel. Things get boring in relationships at times, and you will find yourself stirring up shit just to get a reaction, or not allowing them the freedom to live, or making them be responsible for your happiness. Put this need for adrenaline into something productive, like martial arts, join a rugby team, make friends, go to school, join the army, learn a trade, take up mountain biking or get a motorcycle, earn some money and start investing. There are so many amazing rushes that won't hurt other people. 100%, channeling your energy into the right thing is definitely, what you're lacking. And I think that once you start doing that, it's going to help a lot. One last thing, help others. That is the best way to help, best way to fill yourself up, fill your cup, as they say. To feel something even more so than hurting them, volunteer, help someone on the streets, do a favor for a friend, then never tell a soul that you did it. Just hold it inside and let it keep you full. Anything. Make it a game and ask the universe for chances to help others. Learn to accept that empty is necessary to feel full. If you were never empty, then you would never feel, or you never have the delight of a delicious meal when you are absolutely starving. Appreciate the moments of reprieve and learn to accept when you cannot feel full. Wow. I think that's beautiful. I think that's a really, really great analysis and opinion on that story. The original poster replied and said, I appreciate your comment. This is more or less what I do now and have been doing for about a year since I got out of rehab, but it just feels wrong. Yes, I enjoy helping people, always will, but I feel like I am solely pretending, and that, in my opinion, feels worse. Though yes, I will always help whomever I can. Well, then if you feel like you're pretending, do something that makes you not feel like you're pretending. My guy, you need to forgive yourself and allow yourself to be the best version of you. I've been there, and you're right. People can and do change. When we know better, we should do better. When we do better, we deserve better. If you struggle to heal on your own, don't be too proud to ask for help. Keep your head up and then make amends where you can. I think that's what I was looking for earlier. Make amends. You know, when I was saying repent, I think that's a religious thing. But like, make amends with what you've done, and you know, try to do better and right those wrongs. All right, this is the end of the video. If you stayed towards the end, number one, thank you. I appreciate your support. Number two, leave a comment about what your favorite part of the story is. I know we went through really just two, but the first one was really long. It had a lot of intricate things about it. You know, leave a comment down below, or maybe even send a link to one of your favorite Reddit stories that you'd like me to read and get your opinion on, or maybe even your Reddit story if you want some advice. So once again, thanks for tuning in. I hope you all have a great rest of your night, and enjoy these last few minutes of me building the concierge desk.